Is the Dagestani era ruining the UFC? And what's next for Alex Pereira? Alex just loses to Ankalaev. Now we got pay-per-view main events for Bilal, Ankalaev. I mean, who's gonna buy these pay-per-views? And I'm not hating. I'm not saying that Ankalaev lost. It was a close fight. A lot of people feel that in order to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. And many people feel that Ankalaev didn't do enough. Even Alex Pereira himself was complaining at the end in his interview where he was saying he had me against the cage, but he wasn't doing anything. And that incentivizes fighters to fight in this fashion because when they were in the clinch against the cage, not much was done. That third round was questionable. You could have had it 3-2 either way. I thought Ankalaev won the fight. I'll rewatch it, but I don't know if he did enough. So back to the question of whether this is ruining the UFC. I mean, I think it is kind of tough that, you have champions like Ankalaev, like Bilal. Merab is a little bit different of a case where he's becoming entertaining now. But there was a point when he was beating Jose Aldo and maybe Piotr Jan where wasn't really doing anything in fights that made him entertaining. He did enough now where he's a star and people want to see him fight. But I don't know if you could say the same for Ankalaev. I don't know if you could say the same for Bilal. So this era of the Dagestani fighters becoming champions when they're usually their base in MMA is clinching, is wrestling. Is it ruining the UFC? I mean, I think right now maybe Dana is, I think it's safe to say, not the happiest right now seeing that decision or seeing that performance. So I'm just wondering what's next for Alex Pereira as well too. Now you have the face of the UFC that just lost, right? What does he do next? Does he take some time off? Does he come back quickly and fight? I mean, it's tough because there were talks of him versus John Jones or the winner of John Jones versus Aspinall. If he beats Ankalaev, he kind of clears out the division anyways. So I don't really know what you do next with Alex Pereira, but I don't know. Maybe you still give him a big mega fight. I don't think you run it back with Ankalaev immediately unless he wants that fight. And maybe the UFC wants to appease him and give him the fight that he wants if he does want a rematch. He didn't even mention it. I don't even know if he wants to fight himself. But this whole thing of Dagestani fighters winning in this fashion where it's close and maybe the judgment was favorable. If you look at the significant strikes, even in the third round, which I think that's the most controversial round, and John Anik mentioned it too. I think Alex Pereira outstruck him, but what favored that round for Ankalaev and the judges was probably him holding him up against the cage. I don't know. I want to ask you guys: is that enough to be the champ and to now at UFC 313 in a pay per view to give him the nod and give him the title? I'm sure he's happy. Just like I don't know many other Dagestanis out there, but as far as for the business of the UFC, does this hurt him? I mean, you're getting again Islam Makhachev. That's a little bit different. Merab, that's a little bit different as far as their styles because they could strike as well too. But I don't know if Ankalaev is the most entertaining. Bilal, I don't know. I think it's kind of hurting the UFC. It's not like back then when it was Poirier, Conor, and when it was more striking more than anything, or at least more entertainment. The Poirier, Connor's, Gaethje days where Gaethje comes up with a big win today as well too. So I don't know. The question is, does this hurt the UFC? I would say it does. I would say I like that Mark Goddard kind of separated them in the fight. Maybe he could have even done it earlier. There's more MMA purists that say, hey, if it gets taken to the ground, just let it be. It's martial arts, and if people complain, oh well. But it is a business that they're running. So I would say it is gonna hurt them. And now you're seeing a lot more Dagestani fighters arising and becoming champs. Where I don't know. I don't think many people are gonna want to buy their pay-per-views. I think it's obvious. It's almost rhetorical to say that people are gonna buy Alex fights before Ankalaev, and that's an understatement, right? So you have Bilal, you have Ankalaev. Now I think we're heading in a route where the UFC doesn't do anything about this. As crazy as that sounds, it could hurt him, and I don't see Dana White just crossing his hands and not doing anything about it. Whether they change something in the rule set, I'm just saying I don't think it's good, and it might be ruining the UFC. You guys, let me know in the comments what you believe is the Dagestani era ruining the UFC. Let me know in the comments below. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.